from where we were. Got some more fluff prepared. Oh, and the other thing about alpaca is it is slippery. So, two things. One, put a little bit extra twist. I mean, I've spun wool, and you can pretty much get away with a lot of stuff with wool. But if you don't put that extra twist on your alpaca, that's why I have such a long lead to the orifice, because I like to let that twist settle into that whole long lead. Even though I'm using it to twist my fiber on here in my hand, I let it spin up into that long lead once I get comfortable in spinning. So you want to put a little bit extra twist on it. And you're thinking, oh, but if you do that, then you got too much twist. Well, I'm finding out that people who have too much twist, probably it's because you spun it one way and then plied it in that same direction. Now I've got a little mishap there. And then you plied it in that same direction. And so, yes, you will get a bundle of overspun fiber every time. You cannot spin in the same direction as you ply. It has to be in the opposite direction. So think about this theory as you're spinning it in one direction, but you're plying it in the other. You're actually taking out some of that extra spin that you've put on the alpaca. You have to put it on the alpaca, because if you have just spun it normally like you would wool, and you take out that extra spin that you as you're plying it, it will literally unravel in your hand, and you're just sitting there with a bunch of fiber unspun. And if you find yourself having that issue, it is because you have not put enough twist into your single to ply. Now, second thing is I don't ply two strands of fiber together, only because there is a greater chance of that happening. I find that I have less of that happening when I Navajo ply, or as they call it, chain ply, which is basically a big chain loop that you pull the fiber through. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Sometimes I've spun it so thin that it does break. But when I'm chain plying or Navajo plying, whichever one you want to call it, I find that it's easier to then restart the process than I would if I had just two bobbins with two separate singles on it. So I personally, for my 100% alpaca, whether it's Suri or Hakaya, do a chain ply plying application, or Navajo ply, whichever one you want to call it. The other thing is if by chance it slips out of your hand, and boy, it happens, almost just happened. Don't panic, but do be fast at grabbing that end. Sometimes you can't find it if it's spun into the bobbin, but find it fast, and then hold on to it. Not hold on to the actual tip of it, but hold on to maybe 5 inches below that, because as you're pulling it out, it's already between here and the orifice, it's already lost a lot of that spin, and it will just unravel and keep unraveling, and you're sitting there going, no, because it's just continuing to unravel. So find that, even if you have to put your hands on the bobbin itself to stop it from untwisting. And then what I like to do is I like to pull up out of the bobbin, the strand, once I've got a good hold on it, the strand, and then find where my twist does begin by letting it ply back on itself in a 2-ply, kind of like that, you know, when you pull it and you see that it has a twist on it. That's what I let it do. So when it does that, that's where I grab a hold of. That's the part that I put back through the orifice, and then I pull the rest through, and then I put the twist back into the rest before I add it back into my fluff. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, and I call it fluff because basically all I've done is separated the hairs so that I can see them against a white background and see how thin or how many hairs I'm grabbing and putting into my twist. Sometimes I go thinner, sometimes I go thicker, sometimes it doesn't cooperate with me, sometimes I go too thin. You know, it happens. And you just have, when it comes to alpaca, it is not wool. That's all I have to say. And I've been doing this now, learning how to do this on my own, using my own tricks and trades. And I do have some very nice people that I follow on YouTube that not that I've reached out to them and they've helped me, but that watching their videos has helped. Offhand, just having alpacas alone, and I love her. Excuse me. I love her farm out in Nebraska. Is Butterfield Alpacas. She is, when I first started having alpacas, she is who I started following all those years ago. She had some really good tutorials on how to process your fiber. That process did not work for me, especially lately, because I did have a limb off of my very huge oak tree fall on my house and take out my house. It was a very big limb, and so there went my processing, abilities. People have gifted me different alpaca and different wools, even sheep wool and goat wool even. I have 2 Great Pyrenees that the one is so soft. I can't wait for him to start shedding. I'm actually considering spinning up his fiber because he is so dang soft. But I've got enough alpaca fiber over the years because I haven't sold any of it because that's not really what I got into it for, was to sell. It'll be a while before I spin up Great Pyrenees. My neighbor, she has some fiber that she had saved from one of her wolves that she rescued, and she wanted me to spin it for her and make her a scarf. But I just haven't had the I don't know what it takes to do something like that. I'm not into dog hair. Like I said, I'm very tactile sensitive. Alpaca wool feels like a Brillo pad to me. It doesn't matter how soft it is or baby fine it is. It just feels like a Brillo pad against my skin, against my fingers, and I just can't handle that. So I don't spin it very often. I've also had Angora rabbits, and I'll tell you what, you don't want to card Angora fiber. I mean, yeah, you can. I'm not saying you can't. But I find that just spinning it right off the rabbit, like you harvested it from the rabbit, and it's still in its fluffiest stage, spin it. Just spin it. It always can be washed and air dried, and you could probably even dye it for all I know. I don't know, but I had so much Angora fiber, uh, but it's so floofy and airy that it would get in my nose, and I'd sneeze, and I don't like doing that either. So I don't have the Angoras anymore. Um, I thought about getting Angora goats, but like I said, even their fiber just doesn't, and I know there are softer fibers than alpaca out there, but alpaca fiber doesn't have follicles. And I think that's what makes it so difficult for different people to spin, is the follicles in a wool and in different fibers is what helps it stick together. It's like Velcro to itself. And alpaca just doesn't have it. So that what makes it stay together is the twist on it. I've got a little bit of a schlub here. Is the twist. And so I will check the twist. I want it to be tight, because I know if it's tight now, it'll loosen up when I go to ply it. So I'll continue doing this. I am actually going to fill both of the bobbins that I have with, see, I got a thin spot, so I'll just go back over it and start it all over again, and then make sure I put extra twist in that, because it will come apart if you do not have the twist on it. I'll come back when I have 2 of my bobbins full, because I don't want to switch the drive band to go in the opposite direction yet. I want to at least fill up a couple of bobbins before I do that. I might even transfer the bobbins onto another bobbin. I'm not sure yet, to a big huge bobbin, because I have one of those big huge spinning wheel thingies, like for art yarn, because I'm trying to make a long single strand to get the most out of my spin time, because I spin so long since I've been able to spin. I want to try to do as much as I can all at once. So it'll take me a while to fill up 2 bobbins. So I'll pause it now and be back later when I have more, so that I can show you the process that I do for plying.